students from low-income earning families to attend schools and elderly and disabled to be able to travel when required. This program is aligned to the 5-year and 20-year National Development Plan of the government. Given the sustainable development objective of the Fijian government as prioritized in the National Development Plan, the provision of the bus fare assistance through e-ticketing is the government initiative targeted at providing and promoting quality education for all, social inclusion and empowerment, youth development, and women and gender equality. The bus fare assistance through e-ticketing to school children from low-income families attempted to ensure that all school children have access to quality education. However, the scope of the audit did not cover the acquisition of the services of the e-ticketing provider. The Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts and the Department of Social Welfare through the Ministry of Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation are the two government departments that are involved with administrating and managing the bus fare assistance through e-ticketing for school children, disabled and elderly. It is important to note that the Ministry of Education, Heritage and Art administers and manages students' bus fare assistance and Department of Social Welfare of the Ministry of Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation administers and manages the elderly and disabled bus fare assistance program. The performance of these two ministries were thoroughly scrutinized, but due to COVID-19 restriction, they were still in place at that time. The committee requested the two departments to forward their written responses to the committee. The committee also sought formal clarification from the Office of Auditor General regarding updates on the audit issues and the audit recommendation. The committee deliberated on the audit report using the Parliament virtual platform, Microsoft Teams, and the written responses and formulated recommendations to address audit issues that were identified. It is also important to note that the Office of Auditor General has conducted the performance audit to ascertain the efficacy and effectiveness of government bus fare assistance program through e-ticketing for the school children, disabled and elderly. The audit examined the various functional roles of the Ministry of Education and the Department of Social Welfare and how they manage the e-ticketing program. The audit also looked at the monitoring and reporting aspect of the program and how the information maintained by the e-ticketing service provider was scrutinized, analyzed and reported to the respective ministries and departments. The committee noted that a total of 88,579 students received transport assistance vouchers in 2009 when it started, while 80,879 elderly and disabled persons received 50% concession voucher in 2011. In 2017, the e-ticketing process for bus fare was implemented, and by Term 3 of 2019, total of 66,674 students and about 51,444 senior citizens and persons with disability received e-transport cards to utilize e-ticketing. The elderly and disabled person received full 100% assistance for their fare at the maximum value of 40% per month in 2018. Students living in rural areas that have no bus service still use vouchers to travel on carriers, minibuses and funds. Public funds amounting to 100 million have been spent over 3 years since assistance was delivered through e-ticketing platform in 2017. The bus fare assistance program through e-ticketing has sufficient mandate under the Constitution to enable it to be functional and effective in providing the required assistance to deserving school children, elderly and persons with disabilities. However, anomalies were found given the poor internal controls, including lack of monthly reconciliation of records between the two departments and the e-ticketing service provider. There is also a need to work towards mitigating risks identified which can cause overpayment. This includes the risk of overpayment of assistance through excessive top-ups, school fare paid beyond the school zones, payment of assistance to ineligible recipients, lack of declaration of interest by processing officers, and continued top-up of cards for diseased senior citizens. The risk of fraud for unused balances in card also exists. Generally, the system has been effective in providing bus fare assistance through the e-ticketing platform. However, utilization of resources could be improved with an effective and accountable internal control system. Given the review finding, the committee recommends that 1. The Ministry of Education to expedite the finalization of the current transportation assistance policy, which is under review, and re-look at its SOPs in consultation with relevant stakeholders to align it with the Electronic Fare Ticketing Act 2014. Number 2, Department of Social Welfare develops a policy and finalizes its SOPs in consultation with elderly and persons with disabilities. Number 3, that the Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts signs a service legal agreement with the external service provider to include reporting requirement to ensure any gaps identified in the agreement be addressed and vetted for legal compliance. Number 4, that Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts and Department of Social Welfare strengthen their complaint management system. Number 5, that the Department of Social Welfare examine the 7 recommendations provided by their monitoring and evaluation team in 2018 and where practical, implement it as soon as possible. Number 6, that Ministry of Education, Heritage and Arts and Department of Social Welfare strengthen the reconciling of records with e-ticketing service provider on a monthly basis. And number 7, that by 2030, the 2 ministries with relevant stakeholders provide access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport system for all, improving road safety, notably by expanding public transport with special attention to the needs of those in vulnerable situations, which includes women, children, and persons with disabilities, and older persons in line with SDG number 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. Overall, the committee commended the government for this initiative in supporting the vulnerable communities and groups, as this bus fare assistance program have addressed Fiji's commitments towards the relevant 17 Sustainable Development Goals targets such as SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 4, quality education, SDG 5, gender equality, SDG 10, reduce inequalities, which aims to ensure that no one is left behind and endeavor to reach the furthest behind first. At this juncture, I wish to extend my appreciation to all the honourable members of the committee who were part of successful compilation of this bipartisan report, namely Honourable Joseph Nand, Honourable Vijayendra Lal, Honourable Aseri Randronro, and Honourable Rotemu Mukepa. Further, pursuant to the Standing Order 115, Honourable Andi Litya Kunim Barabi stood in as an alternate member to Honourable Ratu Nengama Lalam Balavu and Honourable Levere, who stood in as an alternate member to Honourable Aseri Randronro. On behalf of the committee, I also extend my appreciation to the Secretariat staff for their timely support on research, liaison with the 2 ministries and compilation of this report. With these words say, I now commend the Public Accounts Committee report to Parliament.
Thank you. Please hand the report to the Secretary General.